Hey free-to-play gang, welcome back to another video. So today we're going to take a look at Zora, and unfortunately we will not have any face cams for today because I pre-recorded a lot of the runs, so unfortunately we'll have to make do with what we have right here. Now we're going to start off with her abilities, followed by her relics, and finally her ascensions. So without further ado, let's take a look at Keen Age. Attacks all enemies, deals 50% attack damage, and inflicts disease for 1 turn. Now restores own HP equal to 10%, which goes up to 15% of the damage dealt. Now the fewer the targets, the higher the damage. But the thing is, from my observations over here, the difference between attacking 5 enemies and attacking 1 single enemy is going to be very minuscule. It's about 10 to 15%. It's not crazy amount of damage. So it's kind of just compensating for the fact that you're no longer dealing massive AoE damage. So that is, well, I guess kind of nice, but honestly it's not such a big deal. Now moving on to Rift Assault, attacks 1 enemy 3 times, each hit deals 40% attack damage and increases your crit damage by 30%. Now this makes it so important that you have a 100% crit rate, which is not what I have on her kit unfortunately, but the best thing for you to do is to give her a 100% crit rate just for this. Now each hit has a 40% chance of dispelling 1 buff from the enemy, which is actually really low. So 40% chance, well, good luck even trying to dispel more than 1 buff on the enemy. It is likely not going to happen in most cases. And you gain speed up for 2 turns, which increases her speed by 30%. Now if own HP is above 50%, cast Keen Age with a 100% proc chance, otherwise 50% chance of casting Keen Age. Now the cooldown goes down to 3 turns at max level. And finally we have Galactic Rush, attacks all enemies, deals 90% attack damage, inflicts buff blocker for 2 turns, and if own HP is above 50%, yada yada yada, you cast Keen Age or not. Now the cooldown reduces to 4 turns at max level. And finally, we have the Captain ability over here, increases allies' attack in Ritual Miracles, Sonic Miracles, and Desolate Lands by 40%. This is the largest attack bonus that I've ever seen in these few specific content, right? Not like in Point War where you have Narmer and Biondina with the 40% attack, but for PvE wise, I think she's the highest right now. Now let's move on to her relics. So this is what I would highly recommend to all of you, and obviously this is also gathered from the rest of my viewers as well. So Hades Avatara makes a lot of sense, especially Hades. Now the thing is, there is a lot of setback over here if you have below 50% HP, because you will not be able to guarantee a Keen Age follow-up after that. But the thing is, the Hades relics here will completely make up for it, and you might see in some of my showcases later on, but this is very potent for her. She's going to heal a lot of HP from her attacks, and she's going to be able to upkeep herself above 50% HP, which is almost always going to guarantee you an extra Keen Age afterwards. Now Avatara is pretty self-explanatory, especially if you're using her for Fodder-Farming, which she kind of does very well at. And here are the stats of the relics that you want to achieve on her. So essentially she is very relic heavy, or rather she is very relic hungry. So you're going to need to have a lot of stats on her. Firstly, you need to have a 100% crit rate, and then you need to have a lot of crit damage and a lot of attack as well. And on top of that, not only do you need a lot of accuracy just to land your debuffs, you will also need a decent amount of speed, because the more turns you take, the more times that you can attack. And I especially love the fact that she bounces from her second skill to her first skill, or her third skill to the first skill. So the more turns that you give her, the more attack opportunities that she has, and she has the potential to deal a lot of damage, which is something that I'm going to showcase later on as well. So do take note that me at 80% crit rate is definitely not enough. You definitely want to achieve 100%. You do not want to rely too much on Dahlia all the time. Now finally, let's move on to her Ascensions over here. She starts off with flat attack, flat HP, 5 speed, 15% attack, and finally 15% crit rate. And this is extremely rare. You don't see this very frequently, not in a lot of Espers. I think Chloe probably has this, and I can't really remember anyone else who has a 15% crit rate as the phase 6 bonus, which gives you the largest crit rate bonus. So we're going to start off with some simple PvP. I'm not going to showcase the whole run because it ends in a failure, but the main takeaway can be seen over here. So basically, if you're able to push your Zora up to taking a turn before the enemy takes their turn, then what you'll see is that she is incredibly powerful with the debuffs that she can land. So firstly, she has buff blocker on her third skill, and she also has diseased on her first skill. So as you can see over here, Gabrielle is not going to be able to land any buffs, and the Clara is not going to heal anything at all. So this is insane. In my opinion, this is really good for PvP if you know how to use her perfectly well, and if you have the Espers to back up your DPS. So for my team right now, I do not have enough DPS for several reasons, but if you can perform a lot better over here, like let's say you remove your Clara and replace her with maybe another Chloe or maybe some other better support other than the Clara, right? Then you can definitely perform a lot better and probably cleave through this, or rather handle a lot of the tanky meta really well using Zora. Now the question is still out there. I do not really think that she's gonna perform better in Holo Battle as opposed to Point War, so I'm not gonna talk too much about that. Instead, we are gonna take a look at her PvE farming. Now, the first place that we are gonna take a look at is definitely going to be Fodder-Farming. I feel like she has a lot of potential over here, and do take note that my Zora is not skilled up at all, so she has a lot more damage to be had, and her cooldowns also need to be reduced as well. But as you can see here, she's dealing pretty decent damage. And what I really like about her is that when she counterattacks, she's going to counterattack with an AoE attack, which is going to speed up your runs by a lot. And you also start to see how 20 plus speed is going to give her such a huge speed advantage because she takes a lot of double turns. And as long as she laps enemies, she's going to top up her HP like crazy, because take a look at the amount of heals that she has on herself every time she attacks, right? She is usually healing herself for at least 50% of her HP on each attack. So for example, you're taking a look at this skill right now, she's using the Galactic Rush. She's going to heal herself for 10,000 HP, and she's going to follow up with her basic attack, which heals her for another 9 upwards of 10k HP. This is essentially a full heal every time she takes a turn, or rather, you know, a really good chunk of her HP healed that way. So maybe the only setback that I see over here is that she does not have a working leader buff. Now, her attack buff only benefits herself in, like, let's say the trials, right? The Ritual Miracles, the Sonic Miracles, and the Desolate Lands. But you can definitely mitigate this and overcome it by running a fodder with a specific leader buff. So for example, you can run fodders with, you know, attack increase, like let's say if you're running a Tang Yun as a fodder, or if you need more HP, you can run certain other Espers as well. But all in all, I think she's very effective over here. As soon as I saw her kit, I already knew that she's going to be great as a fodder farmer, and she is really strong over here. However, as she is right now, you know, without any resonances, without any skill ups, she is performing slower than my Jiangman, which is kind of sad. But I think that if you really max skill her and you just invest a lot of resources into her, give her the best Hades Relic sets that you have, and all that, I do feel like she can potentially hit like a 1.5 minute or even less on her timer. Maybe even as low as 1 minute 10 seconds. So we definitely have a lot of room for improvement over here, running at 2 minutes 10 seconds. But I think this is not bad. Now the next place that we have to talk about is definitely going to be Kronos. I feel like she has the perfect kit over here. So take a look at this. She is really good for wave clearing, and while she is not really performing so well on the first wave due to her type disadvantage, she is going to perform very well on the second wave because she conserves her Galactic Rush on her second cast. And this is the reason why she's dealing so much AoE damage on the second wave, which is going to allow us to clear it a little bit more efficiently. And just like that, we are already at the boss wave. Now, while this is definitely not the fastest runs that I've ever created or I even have, I do feel like it is incredibly safe. Now, do take note that she has a lot of life steal because I'm giving her Hades Relics. So even if she's down to like the last Esper alive, she's going to be able to like outlast the boss on her own, well, at least for a good amount of time before you eventually take down the boss, or you eventually have to work on your relics a little bit more. But yep, there you go, 30 something seconds, which is not so bad. And from the DPS chart over here, you can see that she's actually second to Chloe. But do also take note that my Chloe is fully resonated and fully skilled up. Now finally, this showcase will not be complete without showing her at her prime. This is Shadowfire. She is essentially built for this particular stage, even though she is currently bugged, but I do feel like, you know, when they eventually patch over her bug, which I do hope they do so really soon, she is going to be super powerful, especially for this particular boss, because she does a lot of AoE damage, which is essential in getting like a triple S score over here. So we can skip everything that is before the summoning stage, and here is where she truly shines. So now, when the boss summons all the 8 different adds, this is where her AoE damage is going to come into play. Now do take note that I do not have the optimal speed tune done on this team, especially Zora, which is why she attacked before my Lin Xiao used her AoE defense break, which is something that I want to avoid. But it's not going to be too much of a problem because she takes a turn again, and with that she's able to take the finishing blow and get rid of the rest of the adds. So that's basically it, a very easy way for you to obtain 6 petals on a boss, which would easily translate into a triple S score as long as you have enough DPS to deal enough damage during this period of time. So let me know down in the comments below what are your thoughts on Zora so far, and if you do have her, what are you using on her, like what are the relic sets that you're using on her, how are you using her, and for what content, for anything, right? For example, are you using her in clearing your story, are you using her in the tower, or have you successfully found a team that works well with her in Fafnir? So that's basically the showcase on Zora. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, it really helps the channel, and subscribe for more Dislyte content. Now with that said, this has been Daddy Free to Play, and as always, I will see you in the next video.